everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Shout out to you if you're here for my part two. I started a live earlier today. I was reviewing a live from Search for a Hulu, and then I had to hop off because I had a meeting. But I said I was going to go back and I was going to finish covering it off because y'all, we were cooking and there was some good information coming out. So I'm back to finish where we started, and then hopefully to have a few minutes to have y'all call in, weigh in, and let me know what's going on, because y'all, this just whole topic to me is just getting more and more crazy, and it's a deep rabbit hole. Shout out to you, Malarkey, with the 12. It says, hey, Sister Chez, I hope other loyal members will donate generously to your channel's noble and tireless cause on behalf of our Black men. Thank you so much. That go the money. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. If you are here, hit that like button, tag anybody, share this with someone that you think may find it interesting. And y'all, we got to keep this conversation going. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I think the reason this has elevated and started to become a constant level of focus is because not only is it like the biggest case of policing Black men's bodies that I have seen in decades, there's a ton of hypocrisy that is being consistently and conveniently overlooked. And that to me has been the most disturbing and the most shocking and perplexing thing about this entire thing, is not just the insults that have been thrown towards the passport bros, but the rank hypocrisy that comes from just, I think, women in general, the collective of women who are very adamant about trying to label the passport bros, or trying to label, I guess, this activity as evil, while there is an unwillingness to engage and understand the ways that women themselves are also doing the same things, and also in many ways engaging in sexual exploitation. That to me has been the most disturbing about this whole thing, because if in the face of obvious verifiable facts, you are still willing to die on the hill that you created, you are still willing to hold on to your point of view, even when your point of view has been shown to be wrong, not from an emotional standpoint, not from just purely from a logical standpoint. Like, your point of view is proven to be wrong. Like, at this point, it's like, it's beyond the realm of logic. It's beyond the realm of like right or wrong. It's just something really sinister to me. And to me, I'm thinking, if there is an inability to be honest about some of these basic things, then how can you be honest about the things that are more pressing, and honest about the things that are impacting your life on a larger scale? And to me, quite frankly, I think this speaks to the level of delusion that many people struggle with, that many women struggle with truly an inability to be honest, truly an inability to face the truth about themselves. Because again, if in the face of obvious verifiable facts, you still cannot and choose not to acknowledge that which is presented to you, then it's like there's something else going on. I don't know if it's an emotional thing. I don't know if it's a deeper spiritual thing. Maybe it's both. But this to me has been the most odd thing about all of this. And so here we are. We continue, because at the end of the day, my also a big concern to me, or just something that I feel needs to be stated emphatically and reinforced, is if the effort is to try to shame and to try to basically to try to control men through shaming tactics, it's not going to work. Not only because women have already been shown to be hypocrites in this particular area, just because again they are blaming men with the very same activity they are doing, but also because in being shown to be hypocrites, it gives men another reason to go abroad. It gives men another reason to move forward and do whatever they are doing. And here's another thing I also do want to acknowledge. Some of the pushback that I've heard is that, look, we're not mad that the passport bros are going abroad. We're not mad that these men are necessarily leaving the country. We just don't like how they are negatively disparaging and saying bad things about Black women. It's rooted in self-hatred. Again, I've said this before. I don't rock with I don't rock with self-hating behavior. I don't like just, beating up on women, right? Verbally, right? Or emotion from a, not physically, you know what I mean? But more of like a narrative standpoint. Like, I don't rock with doing that to women. I don't rock with disparaging men or women, really. Like, I don't like the idea of like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and tear black men down or tear black women down. That's not me. But the issue is, again, you not only have you had a market for women to go online and just completely demoralize and castigate men. You have a system for that that has specifically happened in the Black community for the last couple of decades. It has happened decades upon decades upon decades. Nobody cares. And so, again, when we're now trying to hold men accountable for this behavior or for some of the different toxic rhetoric that has been out there that you can find in some of these spaces, it's like, women, we don't even really we're not on the moral high ground to do it, because we've had decades upon decades of disparaging and disrespecting men and Black men. And it's not like there's been really a collective apology. It's not like there's been an effort made to try to be more equal. There hasn't been an effort made to try to make these, right these wrongs. It's like we're still doing that. And then when men return the favor, or when they return the same energy, now all of a sudden we want to play the moral police. Now all of a sudden we want to act like we're on our moral high horse and they need to be treating us with respect when we haven't treated them with respect. And so to me, that's the issue. It's not like I'm in agreement with men going around and just saying negative things about Black women, because as I mentioned, I'm in that group. I have sisters in that group. I have close friends and cousins. Like, I'm in that group. So I don't rock with anybody who just doesn't like Black women, period. But at the same time, I recognize that that same language and that same activity has existed among the female and the Black female population specifically for decades. It's been unchecked. And so now it's unregulated. And like I said, again, unless there is a willingness to actually be honest and actually own our part and own the things where we are wrong or where we're engaging in equally toxic behavior, you're going to see this kind of stuff continue. You're going to see it. Because if there's no truth, if there is not a willingness to be truthful and honest and own your part, nothing is going to change. And to me, that is really what I'm seeing about this entire scenario. It's like we're judging people for the very same things that we are doing. It's a bad strategy, and it's not going to work. At best, it's just going to create more tension, more friction, more infighting, which has already existed. And then men are going to have another reason to just go abroad or to just continue doing what they're doing. And so that's why I'm like, look, there at very least, can we just have an honest conversation? I'm not saying that you have to agree with the activity. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you have to agree with the things that are being said on both sides, because let it be clear. I'm not saying, like, both sides, men and women, have actively said things towards each other that has been disparaging. There has just been a system on this side of women for decades that has promoted that message. But again, without a willingness to acknowledge it, without a willingness to be honest, then it's like, what are we even talking about? Now we're just looking like hypocrites. And from what I've seen at this point, that's what we're doing. We're looking like hypocrites. So this is, I wanted to finish what we were reviewing. Like I said, I had to get off earlier, but we're back. So we're going to pull it up again, guys. If you're here, hit the like button, tag anybody, share this with someone that you think may find it interesting. And hopefully, if time permits, we can have a moment or so to have some people call on and weigh in on this topic. So I'm going to pull up. This was This is a live stream that Search for Uhuru did a couple of days ago. And I thought it was hilarious. Not necessarily even what he was saying, but just, I think the entire setup to me was so funny, because if you're not familiar with him, he's a YouTuber. He's from the States, but he runs a popular business out in Africa. He goes to different countries a lot of different times. And he's, from my understanding, is pretty much bi-coastal. So has family out here, but goes back and forth as needed. And so, he's had an opportunity to observe firsthand knowledge what a lot of these different American women are doing as they are repatriating or going out to visit, take tours, whatever. And when he's hearing about this whole passport bro thing, he's like, I'm kind of confused, because these women are saying that these men are going abroad and dating and taking care of other women, but y'all doing the same thing. Like, and so if you guys missed it, go back and check my first live I did earlier today. It's about an hour or so. but he's just kind of breaking down. He's like, hey, actually, women, you're doing the exact same thing. He literally goes on to expose that he's seeing women in Ghana who not only are they dating younger men, many of them are going on and they're demanding that men pay 100% in the States, and then they're going back to Africa and they're doing a 50-50 setup, or they are 100% paying for their men. And in some instances, they're actually paying for the men and their families. So he's like, it's a total double standard. Out in the States, y'all talking about being flued out and you're not going to settle, but then you go to Africa to find yourselves within between the legs of these local men, and you end up paying for them. You end up paying the way for these local men. So he's like, I don't understand why this is a big deal when you guys are actually doing the same thing. I thought it was hilarious. He mentioned Ghana. I'm sure there's other nations. I know Gambia actually issued, I think last month, like a warning to women, primarily from Europe, who are going down and doing different sex tourism. I'm sure there are Black women who are included in that because there are Black women obviously who live in Europe. But nevertheless, y'all, we're seeing the rank hypocrisy. And so that's what we're talking about. I didn't have a chance to completely finish it, but I want to, because I actually thought it was hilarious. So I'm gonna bring this up. And then we're going to weigh in. And then, like I said, towards the end, have a few minutes, y'all can call in and give me your point of view, because what we found, if you guys hadn't already heard, there was this whole talking point about, okay, look, women are actually going to Jamaica and the Caribbean and getting their black brought out. Black women in particular. They have documented evidence of this. You have different professors in universities who've actually studied this. It's being taught in some certain schools, or it's material that is available in certain schools. So that we know. Okay, but now we're finding out, no, this isn't just happening in the Caribbean. This isn't just happening in Jamaica. No, this is happening across the diaspora. You have women who are going back to the motherland to find themselves in between the legs of local men, paying for these men. Okay, sometimes fronting the bill, and some instances paying for these men and their families. And yet, are these the same women who are going into the States demanding to be flued out and demanding that they be paid for 100% of the time? This is the stuff that we're dealing with. This is the kind of inconsistent hypocrisy that happens. And again, this is why I think, ladies, we want to talk about respect Black women, listen to Black women, believe Black women, protect Black women. If we can't be honest about these kinds of things, then what are men supposed to do? How are they supposed to listen to us if everything that we are saying is based upon a lie or a half-truth? What are they supposed to do? And I think that is the problem. Okay, let me pull this up. I've been pulling this up for the last 5 minutes. Again, guys, if you're here, hit that like button. Shout out to you who is showing support. I'll read your super chats in a bit. I just want to make sure I bring this up. Okay, let's get it. Let's get it. And okay, so like I said, I covered off like the first 15, 20 minutes in the live that I did earlier today. Then I had to I dropped my mouse. I had to get off early because I had a meeting. But we're back. We are back. And we're going to finish what he had to say, and then we'll move forward. Oops. Let's see if it's willing to play. Okay, I think he's just pulling it up. Okay.
But an Instagram model with more than 2 million followers is found murdered in Richmond.
Tonight, police say they don't know or don't rather have a motive, but the suspect is dead too. Our Grace White is following the case.
Her name was Miss Mercedes Moore. At least that's what she goes by on Instagram, where she has more than 2 million followers. Her real name, Janae Gagnier, now dead at 33.
We pulled in while everybody was still here, and the police were here, and the people were grieving.
Neighbors at the apartment complex in Richmond on West Point Circle shocked Sunday evening to see a crime scene.
This lady did pass away, that she was killed, and really that's all that we know.
And much about the case is still a mystery. Richmond police are the lead. All they've said so far, they believe it was a murder-suicide. The medical examiner says she was strangled to death. Found with her was 34-year-old Kevin Cordo. The ME says he died by suicide from multiple sharp force trauma.
Certainly we're going to be praying for her family. We know that it's a tragedy for the whole community.
A tragedy where there's still no known motive.
So I don't know if you guys remember that's a scenario that happened a few months ago where basically the Instagram model, right, was found deleted okay, in her own apartment, and it seemed like there was a double suicide. There was other man that was
Incredibly
connected to
tragic
it.
story here. We have learned new
Um,
information that the 33-year-old social media model was strangled to death. That's according to the Fort Bend County Medical Examiner's Office. And police are also now trying to figure out a timeline of when this all may have happened, and also shared with us that they have not seen any signs of forced entry to the apartment. The details still murky as to what led up to the horrific murder of 33-year-old Janae Gagnier, known as Miss Mercedes Moore on social media, with a following of 2.6 million.
We want to find out why her, why him.
The body of the woman was discovered Sunday afternoon inside her apartment at the Cortland Sugarland complex. According to the medical examiner, she died of strangulation and traumatic concussion in what police are investigating as a murder-suicide. A second body also found. Richmond police say it belongs to this man, 34-year-old Kevin Accordo, who died by suicide caused by multiple sharp force trauma.
We found her in her apartment doing a welfare check. People haven't heard from her in a couple days.
It was the woman's family that called police asking for a welfare check on Sunday. Gagnier's father was with officers when they made the gruesome discovery.
People were asking about the relationship between her and the suspect. And at this time, we are doing some investigating on social media to determine if there is an exact cause.
And investigators would not share with us whether or not anything was taken from inside of this woman's apartment. And they also tell us that the last known address for the suspect in this case is out of Florida.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce
so
that.
I mean, I think we pretty much, let me see.
So the man that killed Miss Moore.
Okay, so again, if you guys miss, oh, where am I at? Uh-oh, did I get kicked out? Oh, okay. I was like, did I get kicked out of my stream? Okay, shout out to you, Culture Collision. I see you. I owe you an email, actually. And that reminds me. Good to see you. Keep up the good work. Also, I saw another super chat come through, $4.99 with the Louisiana Broken English. What's going on? Shout out to you with the $4.99 and the super sticker. Also, Sigma Male Science, it says we always have to ask ourselves who benefits when we act a certain type of way. Thank you. Okay, so real quick, for those of you guys who missed it, I'm reviewing this video from Search for a Huru. He basically kind of was weighing in on his perspective on this whole passport bros debate. And what we found out based upon his perspective, different things that he's seen in Africa, different people that he knows, he's like, look, women are basically going abroad in Africa and paying for these dudes. They are sleeping with them. They are, in many instances, taking care of them and taking care of their family. So why are we mad at the passport bros if we're doing the same thing? So that's kind of what was exposed in the first half of the conversation. And then at this point, he's playing this video, and for those of you guys who forgot, he played a scenario of an Instagram model in the States, in America, who was found deleted, presumably by a follower. It was a murder-suicide. And unfortunately, that's the kind of the risk that's taken when women engage in that kind of behavior. Now, again, here's the backdrop, right? Women are complaining. One of the complaints raised against the passport bros is that these men are going abroad and sexually exploiting these poor, impoverished women. If you look at the average median income of a woman in America, especially Black women in America, they themselves are poor. They themselves don't have a lot of money. So it's like that argument right there falls really flat when most American women, single women in particular, especially those that have kids, are actually struggling. Now, we know there's all these hit pieces by the Bloombergs or whatever that is saying, single childless women are the happiest. But again, that's all those caveats that are. And if you actually look at the research, is bunk, because really that stuff at the end of the day is just trying to give women a more of a reason to work longer hours, to work more in corporate, and to not settle down and have families. But if you look at the actual research, the amount of money that women are making on average in general, a lot of them are poor. A lot of them are struggling. Black women in particular really lead the charge in that. So the argument that men are going abroad to trick on poor women, it's like, well, you're poor. So like, what are you talking about? So that's cap. Second thing, again, is an issue is, these men are going abroad to sexually exploit these women. These are the same women who fought for sexual liberation, fought for the rights to be able to treat their bodies however they want, right? The freedom to sleep around without having the social repercussions or the social shame. The same women who think that a woman should be able to go on OnlyFans and promote her sexuality and sell her sexuality if she wants to. These are the same women. Very similar to the woman a few weeks ago who was interviewed on Fox News and talked about sexual exploitation, and she was an OnlyFans model. So it's like, that's cap, because you're actually doing the exact same things that you are judging these other women for doing, or these other men. So it can't really be about that activity, because if it was, then you wouldn't be doing it. So again, this is where we're at. He went on to show a story of a OnlyFans model in the USA who was actually deleted as a result of her activity. This is where we're at. Okay, I wanted to give you guys a backstory. Okay.
Or was an OnlyFans model and allegedly a John. Her John. Allegedly. 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 It was a John. Trick. So you have this going on in America amongst our community.
Right.
In large numbers in regards to being involved in the sex trade, which is your business. Hey, listen, it is your business how you make your money, none of mine. But for some reason, y'all are concerned about passport bros tricking off in Brazil and Thailand. Like, I don't get it. There's a lot of sex work going on here in America in our community that I don't hear the outrage from a lot of our brothers and sisters in regards to the sex work that goes on in our community. Again, if that's how you make a living, that's your business, none of mine. But you're upset about brothers tricking off in America, and you care about the well-being of these women in these other countries, but not the well-being of our sisters who are engaged in sex work here in America?
Y'all, I mean, seriously, like, that is my point. He's like, this doesn't make any sense. You're so concerned about women in other countries that you've probably never met and never will. You're concerned about their well-being when women in your own backyard and your own community are being harmed as a result, and y'all ain't got nothing to say about this. So this is how we know it's disingenuous. This is how we know there's something else going on here. The issues, the reason they're pushing back, the reasons that they're bringing up as to why this movement or this activity is wrong, all of it is really illegitimate. There's something else going on that's really motivating this pushback. Okay, let me continue.
That's where I get confused. And again, I see a lot of sisters justifying and defending other sisters who participate in sex work. And again,
yeah,
I know I sound like a broken record. That's none of my business. Get your money, get it how you live. It's none of my business at all.
I don't support it.
Who am I to judge?
I don't support it.
It's the oldest profession in the world. But they are defending and not criticizing and calling out sex work in our community here in America, but for some odd reason are concerned about the sex workers in Thailand and Brazil.
Right, that part.
All of a sudden concerned about the sex work that's going on in Thailand and Brazil. As long as children and violence are not involved, I can care less. That's where I'm at. If this is between consenting adults, whatever your transaction is, I could care less. Guys, we're going to open up the lines here in about 5 minutes. We'll take a commercial break here shortly. Again, we're going to take a commercial break here shortly, and we're going to open up the lines. You're more than welcome to call in. Again, you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. Again, there we go. I don't pocket watch. Being a grown adult, I don't pocket watch. And simple as Academy, I was going to get to that. So I had a young lady who was running ads here on my page, and she was selling, I don't know the correct term, I guess, weaves and wigs. Is that the correct term? Is weave the PC term? 2022, 2023. Is a weave the PC term? Like, what's the correct term for weave? Hair, like, what's the correct term? Is it still weave? And so I heard a lot of people like, Dynasty, man, why are you allowing somebody to market that on your page? And I was like, look, it would be delusional for me to think that women are going to stop wearing, specifically Black women are going to stop wearing weaves and wigs. It would be delusional.
Sad.
But with that being said, I would much rather Black women buy their weave.
Yeah, I just real quick, I need to interject on that. Like, I don't disagree with him, unfortunately, but I'm like, it is kind of sad to think that he's like, he said it's delusional to think that Black women will give up wigs in weaves. Like Black women will give up not wearing their own hair. I think that conversation to me that's a whole nother conversation. But I'm like, that's kind of sad. You know what I mean? Now I understand. I mentioned this before too. A woman wanted to go and express herself. Like Black hair is so versatile. That's one of the things I love about it. That's one of the things I love seeing about Black women who are rocking their hair, like doing different styles. Like I love that. But y'all, we know that it's gone really, 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 really far. And we also know that the history of Black hair, especially in the West, is not one that's usually connected with self-love. It is usually one that's connected with self-hatred and trying to hide your Blackness. So to me, when I hear that, that's what makes me really sad, because I'm like, man, like this issue is still very deep. But some of us won't admit it. We'll try to justify it, or we'll try to say all the kind of different stuff. But it's real. And as a Black man, he's like, look, I know they ain't gonna give it up. So how do we work with them? Okay, let me continue.
Using wigs from other Black women than other groups of people who don't care about them. Again, I would much rather have Black women buy their hair from other Black women than other groups of people and demographics of people who don't care about them. And
I can agree with that. That's one thing I could say too. Like if Black people if we owned our own industry, like if the beauty supply stores in the Black communities were owned by Black people and going back into Black communities, then it may not be so bad. But I think the issue is not only is there, women are spending incredible amounts of money on fake hair to try to get these hairstyles. A lot of this money is not going back to them. It's not going back into empowering their situation, their community. If anything, it's making it worse. You got other people marketing off of other communities, right? Other ethnicities benefiting off of the activity of Black women. And it's like, that to me it's really sad. Like, how do you got a whole other ethnic group or ethnic groups who are dominating an industry that Black women run? Like, it just, So I'm going to agree with him on that, where it's like, look, if they're going to do it, at least have them do it in the community, or buy from people in the community, so the dollars are being circulated. I can agree with that for sure.
Take that money within our community, because it would be delusional of me to think that Black women are just going to stop wearing weaves and wigs. And since they're not, I would much rather them buy it from somebody that looks like them. Ms. Ruby, I'm getting to that. And the reason why I bring that up, because the argument be passport bros. Y'all need to be buying SEGGS here in America, in the Black community, buying that Black American community SEGGS, instead of taking that money and circulating it in Brazil and Thailand. Is that the argument? If that's the argument, okay, I'll support that. If you would rather the passport bros circulate their SEGGS and tricking off money within the Black community instead of in Thailand and Brazil and Colombia and the DR, then hey, listen, I get that. If that's the argument, if that is the argument, I can support that. Passport bros, you're tricking off money, needs to be circulated within the Black community. You need to support our SEGGS workers in the Black community and stop taking your hard-earned money and indispensable income and tricking off in Colombia, DR, Brazil, and Thailand. If that's the argument, bam, I can support that.
I don't know. First off, I don't think that's the argument. I never heard any of the women say these men need to be taking their dollars and circulating it back to the sex workers here. I've never heard that. Now, there may be some women who think like that. Honestly, I'm not a supporter of the sex industry, especially when it comes to women. I don't rock with it. But I will say this, and this might be an uncomfortable truth, but it's the reality. The reality is, men are very visual. Okay. And when you're looking at men who are wanting to look your best bang for your buck, you're wanting to find the one that you perceive as the most beautiful, the most fit, okay, the most traditional. You're not getting that in America. Because look, the food out here is trash. You got a lot of us eating genetically modified food, addicted to hot Cheetos and Popeye's chicken, and we're unhealthy. And the obesity rate in the Black America is skyrocketed. So there is a reality too, where it's like, okay, even if I did want to try to circulate dollars into this industry out here, there are some men who are really into the BBWs, but there's also plenty of men who that's not their first choice. They maybe prefer to go to a country where the average BMI is lower. And I know it may be kind of base to say that, but that's the truth. And so I mean, again, it goes back to the whole lifestyle. I see his argument, but I think the issue there is now you got to talk about, okay, if you want to compare the kinds of women that you're dealing with, the kinds of personalities, even the body types, it's not even necessarily that like you have a lot of these black men who don't like black women. Many of them do. It's just there is a health issue out here in America. There is an obesity issue out here in America. That's one of those other touchy subjects that people don't want to talk about. And if you're a dude that's just not walking with a BBW, and you're more inclined to find more BBWs out here and less inclined to find BBWs if you go out into a maybe more rural country or traditional country or whatever, then you might just go to that country where you're going to have more options and where your dollar spreads. So that's what I don't know. That's what I think. Maybe I'm tripping, but that's just what I think, y'all. Also, if you're here, hit that like button, y'all. Hit the like button. Show support to the show. Cash App, VENMO, ChezCharde, all that jazz. Okay.
Claude Anderson would approve of that. Claude Anderson would approve of that. We got to circulate that money, no matter by any means necessary, within the black community. I support that. I support that. I can ride and get behind that. Passport bros, start tricking off at least 20% of your income in the black community.
I don't
at least 20%. Let's start there.
I mean,
it's based Janelle Neal. It's based on a true story. The movie was based on a true story, and it's still going on. It's still going on now today, to this present day.
Did y'all know it was based on?
See, Janelle, I thought it was a fictional story, but it's a true story. And I looked it up, and it's a true story. People confirm in the chat room that is a true story. So it's not just a movie.
Okay.
It's a true story.
True story. Okay. All right.
It was based on a true story, and what happened in that movie is still going on today, presently.
Dang, that's crazy.
Okay, let's start with paying your child support and taking care of your children before you skip town. I'm glad you brought that up. Janelle, it's a true story, and it still goes on till this day, Janelle.
What he's saying is a true story, y'all. Is Stella got your group back. He was saying that's not fictional. That's actually based upon a true story. I wasn't aware of that. No, I didn't look it up, but he said he looked it up, and it is a true story, and also that it's been verifiable. So that is what he is referring to, the story of Stella got your group back. And then somebody went and sent a chat, and they're like, well, these dudes going abroad are escaping and running from child support. Let's see the response.
It still goes on to this day. Amani, I'm glad you brought that up. The whole child support argument. Number one, if you don't pay your child support, they take away your passport. So you can't be a passport.
Right. That part. Janelle,
I want you to call in. So again, number one,
my money, my
if you don't pay your child support, they take away your passport. So you can't be a passport.
Right.
So that's number one. It only takes $2,000. You get behind $2,000, they snatching your passport, and you go to jail.
Right.
That's why when I hear these women bring up the whole child support issue, passport bros aren't deadbeat dads. Because you can't be a deadbeat dad because they'll take away your passport. And you can't leave. If you owe child support, once it gets to a certain number, which is $2,000, they will take away your passport.
So y'all hear that argument again? So the argument, these are just deadbeat dads running away, running from women child support. Again, I mean, if you look, we know a majority of men, right? At least within a certain age range, single and childless. Many of the men who are going abroad are single and childless. So it's like they are completely disqualified from that. And then when you want to look at the amount of men who are actually doing child support, as he mentioned, it's like if you fall behind on child support at the end of the day, they're taking away your passport and you could be thrown into jail. So any argument that would suggest that the passport bros are just men running from child support, running from the responsibilities, you can't do that legally. Like it's just, so that argument falls flat. Y'all, and all these arguments.
Number two, the whole argument, we already so we're past that. We're past that. So we're past the whole passport thing. I mean the whole child support thing. Because if you don't pay your child support, you lose your passport. They'll come lock you up. They'll suspend your license. And then the number of men who are on child support, specifically black men who are on child support, who even have passports. It's not even worth the argument. I'll say, well, maybe 2% of black men even have passports. So it's not even worth the argument. No child support and passport. Skipping out on child support. Janelle, you can call in. So guys, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll put the link in the chat room if you want to call.
Okay, so I mean, y'all, that's pretty much it. And as he alluded to, which is true, the majority of men and even the majority of Black America in general doesn't have a passport. So really, we're having a conversation right now about a small minority of men who are doing a small minority of activity, yet it is dominating the Black YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, is dominating the Black social media space. And why is that? Truly, I think the bigger issue here, it's not what's being stated. It's not that men are going abroad sexually exploiting women because women are doing the exact same thing. It's not that these men are going abroad to date and marry women who are half their age because Black women are going abroad and engaging in the same activity in Jamaica. He mentioned in Ghana and Gambia and other nations. It's not that men are going abroad to try to run from child support or run from responsibilities because, as he mentioned, if you fall behind on a certain amount of child support, they can remove your passport. You can even end up in jail. It's none of those things. It can be that Black men are being disrespectful to Black women in the process because Black women have been disrespectful to men really online for the last couple of decades. I mean, there's been a system. There has been a system set up to empower women who don't like men to go online and be disrespectful. So it's like, it can't be that. It can't be that they're mad that they are breaking the code. When again, you've had the last couple of decades of really feminist talking points that have exclusively damaged the image of the Black community and Black men in particular. So it's not that. None of the excuses that are being made, none of the pushback that is being made is valid. Truly, what I think is going on is the very fact that you have men who feel empowered enough and emboldened enough to leave this scenario, to take their dollars, to take their resources elsewhere, and to remove it from the American dating market. It just means these women are going to have to work harder. I truly think there are some women out there who are married to their delusion, and they are beholden to these ideas that they deserve certain things. They just deserve it. And anything and any time there is a situation or a scenario that questions that fantasy, then they throw a fit. Because what this is truly going to mean is if more men start to recognize, and if there is a trend that starts to impact everyday men, starts to impact next generations, if they know that, hey, I don't have to just settle down with a woman next door to me, even in my own town, in my own state, even in this own nation. My options are now worldwide. What is that going to mean for the women in that community? They're going to have to compete. They're going to have to compete. And with a generation of women that have been told that they are the prize, that they are the table, and that all they have to do is show up, the idea of having to work in a situation or in a scenario where they feel like they've had to do nothing enrages them. And that's truly what I think is the biggest issue, is that these women are now being faced with the reality that they're going to have to compete. And that makes them very upset. And especially when these women have to contend with the fact that they are going to have to compete with men that they don't really respect or they don't really value. It's like cognitive dissonance. And that's truly what I think is going on. The reality is staring these women dead on in the face. And there is an unwillingness to accept it. And so instead of doing that, it's easier to shame, it's easier to pass guilt, it's easier to try to minimize or demonize in an effort to hope to stop a movement that is inevitable. As I mentioned before, the market in general, this world in general, is becoming more globalized. Not just the dating and mating market, jobs, the economy is becoming more globalized. People are moving internationally just to look for employment. I mean, just everything about this world This phone, like I said, I could text somebody, I can call somebody in Europe right now if I wanted to. Everything about this world is becoming more interconnected, and that includes the dating and mating. And so what was maybe easier for women beforehand is becoming more difficult. Just like you had some people who had to adopt to the fact that their jobs, certain kinds of jobs, were shipped abroad, and that put them in a tough position to either be out of work or to have to find new trade. It's the same way when it comes to this dating and mating stuff. Perhaps before there were men who were willing to put up with certain situations or just felt that they just had to settle or be alone. Now these men are recognizing that there are other options that might suit their taste. And for women, it simply comes down to competition. It simply comes down to either I have to work and I have to start to self-evaluate and put myself in a market to be picked by the kinds of men that I want, or I can sit back and complain and cry and try to shame, but truly be left behind. And to me, that is why I think there's an issue. The audacity for men, the audacity for Black men to think that they could go abroad and find different options. They should settle here, or they should just die alone. I also don't understand why there's so much concern or why there's so much pushback for supposedly leftover men. As I mentioned before, you wouldn't be concerned about men that you don't care about. And that's why we know it's CAP. They absolutely care about, well, they don't care about these men. They care about the resources that these men have, because many of these men have resources. And if they're not rich, they're at least financially stable enough to be able to go abroad and explore options. They are acculturated or acculturated enough to be able to go abroad and integrate and get along in other societies. Those are the kinds of men that women want. Maybe not when they're young, but when they're older and they want to be stable. Those kinds of men. And so the fact that the kinds of desirable men, they don't say they're desirable. They try to shame them, but their actions show us that they are. The fact that these men are choosing to leave the dating market when there's already this fear around there not being enough available Black men. They're either in prison or they're gay, or they want Becky, or they want white women. You know, there's already that narrative out there. And then now you have another movement that is sharing these women that they could be going abroad. It's fear. These women know that they're going to have to compete. These women know that it's getting harder and harder. And as I mentioned, if these men were not important to them, they wouldn't care. And the very fact that there is so much commotion over a group of leftover men tells me that there is an intense amount of fear that there's going to be less and less men available. And that's why truly I think the shaming, the guilting, the blaming, to me, these are all control mechanisms to try to get these men to stay and to do what they want to do, instead of us actually addressing the core issue, which is that many of us are not wives. We don't know how to be wives. We don't value being wives. And when these men go abroad and try to find it, now we feel rejected. And it's like, since you cannot have your cake and eat it too, you have to be willing to face yourself. Either you start to engage in the conversation to start to address the issues that these men have been talking about, or they're going to go to women who are willing to do it. But you have no control over these men. You cannot control them. You don't have ownership over them. And somehow I think there was not this. I don't think there was an awareness that women had that, look, we don't control them. We don't, by and large, control the activity of these men, especially the men that we say that we don't want. We don't control them. And again, this conception is being shattered. And the response is shaming. But in my opinion, it's not going to work. But yeah, that's what I got. So I want to hear from you guys. As I mentioned, I wanted to just talk to you about what was going on. This rabbit hole has gotten deeper and deeper, and the hypocrisy is getting more blatant. And I think the more we try to die on these hills, I'm talking the collective, right? Not everybody, I'm just saying in general, the more there is a group of women who try to die on this hill, I just think the worse off it's going to make the collective of Black women look. They're just going to look like more hypocrites. And it's going to be another reason for men as a collective to not take them seriously. And I don't want that. you know, I don't want Black women to have the reputation of being hypocritical, lying, unable to face the truth, controlling. I don't want that, because I don't believe that is all of us. I really don't. But in these kinds of scenarios, when there's a certain kind of activity that's not addressed and called up for what it is, then we all look bad. And it gives people out there who already have maybe negative conceptions about us or already have traumatizing experiences, it helps reinforce the reason why they need to run away. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. What's going on, Kevin C? Thank you for the support. I see. What do you mean that women have to improve themselves and compete to secure the best, better men? The same exact things men must do to attract women. You're like, what? I have to work? That's what I'm saying. A generation of women who were told that they just show up. And, you know, and it's crazy because there is no other area in life really where you just show up and stuff is given to you. Really, the only thing I can think of is like maybe the gospel, right? Religion. Okay, but apart from that, apart from Jesus Christ, okay, or religion, every other thing you got to do, you got to work. And even in Christianity, you got to work. It's not like you just sit there. Like you still have to obey and submit. But it's like in every other area of life, whether it's school, you getting a job, you losing weight, you wanted to put on muscle, you wanted to get into these corporate situations, which a lot of these women dream about, getting into these jobs and boss babe and running business. They understand that they have to work and compete. So why is it and how is it that in every area of life, every other area of life, you understand the importance of showing up and bringing your A game, but somehow when it comes to relationships, there is no work involved. There's no work. You don't have to be self-reflective. You don't have to try to learn and evolve and be humble. Why is that? And that's why I'm saying the delusion is just stellar. The hypocrisy is on a level that I can't say I remember seeing. It's like we need an Academy Award. Okay. So let me, for those of you guys who want to call in and give your point of view on this whole thing, the rabbit hole is getting deeper and deeper. And I don't know where it's going to start or where it's going to end. But I think at this point, it's like, I think it's like, look, just be quiet. Just be like, you know what? Okay, you know what? You're right. Maybe we got some work to do. Let them go abroad and do their thing. Truthfully, I feel like we just need to stop. The pushback needs to stop. Just do it, because the more shaming and the guilting and the pointing the fingers that happens, then truthfully, I think the more of those skeletons in the closet that are going to be revealed about Black women. Truthfully. And I'm not saying all Black women, but I'm saying those who have and are engaging in this behavior. And also, by the way, it's like, we really want to talk about trafficking and being exploited. Just on my page alone, I posted something yesterday, and I had probably now over 200 comments of men recounting their experiences of how when they were young, minor men, not even men, minors, boys, preteens, that they had older, mature women approaching them for sexual favors, approaching them for just sexual ideas, wanting sexual relationships. Countless stories. So it's like, and I don't know if is the pushback that if the truth comes out, there's going to be more women who have to accept that they've actually been engaging not only in sexual tourism, but in sexual exploitation, taking advantage of young boys, child abuse. Is that the fear? Because best believe it's happening. Just on my page alone, countless men saying, oh yeah, I was 13. Oh yeah, my high school teacher. Oh yeah, my middle school teacher. Oh yeah, my auntie. Oh yeah, my auntie's friend. Oh yeah, my mom's friend. Countless. Like, I was floored. And this is just on my little page. And I'm like, is that the fear? Is the fear that if women have to admit this, then they'll have to also start to admit the times that there are willing participants. There are women who willingly participated in the exploitation of young boys by engaging in sexual relations with them. Is that the fear? So we'll have to see. But it looks like I have a few people back here. What's going on, Kevin C?
Hello, Mrs. Chardé.
Hey.
I don't think that's your. I think that's your first and middle name, right? Something like that.
Well, my first name is Chardé. Chez is literally French for at her place. So it literally means at Chardé's place.
Oh, okay. All right. So you have a. Oh, so you're cool enough to have a pseudonym.
Like sure.
That?
Honestly, you know what? Honestly, it was a name that my mom gave me years ago because I'm
okay,
like
yeah.
I'm a total foodie, and she
That's
was
pretty cool. That's good. It's a unique name. I remember when I first met you, I kept mispronouncing it. Yeah. Everybody mispronounces it when they first see you, right?
I've heard all kind of stuff, so I'm used to it now.
You know, first of all, thanks for letting me up, and I don't want to talk too much. I'm sure the other gentlemen have some stuff to add. But you know what's very interesting?
Mm-hmm.
You probably have given the most astute and logical analysis as to why these women are behaving the way they're behaving. Because here's the thing: we can't think like women, right? We're not women. We don't think like you guys. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't really understand it. All we can do is speculate. So men will go, why are you upset about men that you don't even care about? If they're gone, then they're gone. Then why even, have conversations, do all the shaming? I've even seen videos where some women are like, don't go. I've seen some of that too. There's a few of that. Not that much, but there's a few of that because this is really becoming a thing. This is becoming a thing. This is becoming a thing.
Okay.
But nobody really cares about it with the older men because older men have already done the stuff they're gonna do. All right. I'm overseas, so I go back and forth between other countries in the United States.
Right.
I'm waiting for the last kid to actually graduate college in a few years. And once I'm done with that, then we're going to be going back and forth to the United States.
Okay.
And it'll be probably about 50% of the time. I think we're going to probably do like a 60-40, more in the States and then back and forth. But my whole thing is that the concern is the younger men who are leaving. See, what's happening here, this wasn't even an issue. People act like this is a new thing. It's not. I don't know how old you are, but I'm definitely old enough to remember the mail order bride thing.
Yes.
There you go. The mail order bride thing. That's what they called it. But it's basically you had a magazine, and there were women who put their photos in, and then men and then you had Then what came out of that was organizations that actually set up trips so you can do the meet and greets, and then and dudes were literally coming out of there with wives. So that was a serious thing.
Yeah. Totally.
And so it's just so now men are kind of I guess cutting out the middleman. But here's the big thing. Here's the big change. The really big change is that it's the younger men that are doing it. The guys who they're in their early 20s, not married, no kids, nothing is holding them in the United States. If they get remote work, where they can work from anywhere on the planet, it's over.
Yeah, and that's the way the world is going. The way, like, even sorry about that. Like certain positions I've noticed in particular, like the corporate positions, the ones that are usually high paying, more and more is becoming remote, especially since the pandemic. You started to see jobs.
The pandemic, as bad as it was, actually showed how many jobs can actually be done remotely. Yes. It was very funny. One guy we were 3 years into the pandemic, right? And one dude, he had moved like 2 years into the pandemic, and his boss said, "Hey, come in tomorrow." He's like, "I'm in a completely different. I'm like 5 states away. What are you talking about?" So because he'd been working remote the entire time. He's like, "Okay, so now you guys can come back." It's like, boss, I'm like 5, 6 states away from you. I'm not even in the same state anymore. I'm not even in the same city. So when you get to that point, especially with automation, and if you get anything into STEM, so it's just that's the real issue, and it's nice hearing it from you and your analysis because again, men can only go, well, hey, why are you so upset if dudes are leaving? And men can only look at it as, well, it's because the best. I always say the best / better. Young men are leaving. They're not even giving the women a chance to even get at them, or they just made up their mind. I don't even want to deal with the women that are available.
Okay.
Because they just don't. In their mind, they've already made up their mind that what they have available is just not suitable or marriageable or even good enough for a relationship. Yeah. And I tell women, hey, you got to qualify. You got to qualify just to be a girlfriend. And I look at it like this too. Look, don't men have to qualify ourselves to women?
Yeah. When you look at it that way, it's like no. I mean, unless the man looks good enough, that's the only way they'll get around it. But apart from that, a man, he has to bring his
even just looking good is a qualification.
Hey, I'm sorry to interject. Just have the whole chat look up the word. I mean, the term cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
All makes sense. Like, I mean, on my channel, I try to do a show on that. But if you look up that term, you will understand what's going on.
That's
I'll go ahead and let somebody else talk for a second. Go ahead, sir.
To the T. I mean, the thing about it is, for some reason, I think Black women in this country think they deserve the right of first refusal. It's like, okay, all right, you have to ask me for a contract before you ask somebody else for a contract, even though I know your contract is shitty. You feel me? That's crazy. Like, if you're a free agent and you're going to go into a contract negotiation and you know this one contract is going to be shitty contract, but are you even going to listen to the contract based on what they've already showed you?
Right.
You know, one thing I notice is I think women in general tend to project. Like, they have a certain way of looking at life and operating. And you know how women always call each other catty, and they have all these things that they say about each other. So they have they have so much interactions with women. I think they think it projects onto men as well.
Yeah.
And modern women, or a lot of women, look at men like tools, right? Like, I mean, people in general look at Black men like tools. So it's either you are going to be funding my life here in America, or if she needs her back blown out in Jamaica or Ghana, she's gonna go there and use him as a tool. So she's just paying for the tool when she's paying for the family or paying the bills or whatever the case may be. So when passport bros are starting to go across seas, they project onto them like, oh, now you're trying to use Black women in other countries as the tool, or try to, use Filipino women or whatever the case may be, and they project that onto them. And I don't know, some of them I see a lot of passport bros. I do think some of them are frauds, but at least based on what they say, they want a real relationship, they want marriage, they want a woman they could trust, they want a society, a system they could trust, because we've seen so much of this country, pretty much just, not being unfair and being unjust to men. Like, they're just like, men they're losing in the courts with the kids, the custody, the alimony, the divorce, and the type of attitude that women have towards men as tools. For you to marry one, that means, that kind of shows why it's so easy to divorce us, because you're just only as good as your only good is whatever use I can get from you. And if I feel like that use is still valuable enough to stay with you, once it's not, I can let you go. And men we don't want to feel like that. We don't want to feel like an object, and so we want to go somewhere where they have some kind of appreciation for us. Now, a part of that across seas is like, they look at us as someone that's, coming to make their lives better or whatever. Or I don't want to use the word savior, but even in that case, it's better if we're going to be used either way. What's the better deal? You know what I'm saying? And these men are saying the better deal is to go across there. My money is worth a lot more. I'm in the top 1%. I'm gonna be used either way. So why you want me to stay here just so you can use me? Yeah. So I don't think that's a fair way of looking at it.
I mean, I wasn't finished what I was saying, but let me get this off for a second, and then y'all can go. I know personally, and this is anecdotal evidence or whatever, however you say it, right? I know a chick right now that's a lawyer / travel agent that I used to talk to, right? Her second kid, guess what? That second kid how that second kid came about. It was from a cruise from Jamaica.
Ooh.
And, you know, she dressed it up. You know, I mean, when we talked about it, when we first met, she dressed it up. But I already knew what it was. You feel me? Now she's a slash travel agent. She's studying for her like doctorate or some shit like that. So the narrative that Kevin Samuels, you know, rest in peace to him, has been selling is definitely spot on correct. She's in her doctorate right now. She has a second child, and she was married before. You know what I'm saying? And she took a trip to Jamaica. And you know what? She even told me a story about how she was bragging about how this dude was about to get a green card, right? And she found out he got another bitch pregnant. I mean, I'm sorry, another woman pregnant, whatever, right? And she took it away from him.
Wow. Okay.
To the T. To the T. To the T. So this narrative about passport bros, we actually kind of behind because they've been doing that shit. They've been doing it for, was it 25 years, 30 years now?
Well, actually, 30, 40.
Actually,
way back.
I would say actually like more than that. And like this is my whole issue with the whole like newly, you know, passport bro argument or narrative. Basically, I guess the only concern I would have would be, you know, basically if women are pushing this narrative that all these black men, all they want to do is go overseas and, you know, have sex with these women and all this other stuff. Well, what about the black men that are traveling because they're on business, traveling because they, you know, basically just relocated to another country, or just on vacation? Because basically, if you're going to stamp like this small group of people, you know, by default, stamp them all. And, you know, so when you're in the airport, you see a brother that, hey, I'm going to, you know, Colombia, Brazil, or wherever. It's like, oh, you must be one of them passport bros, you know? So it's kind of like, I think sometimes, you know, our people as a whole just can't think 10 steps ahead as to, you know, and I'm specifically, you know, addressing this to the men that's basically siding with a lot of these women, you know, talking about the brothers that go travel. Is like, well, do some of you guys travel? And if some of you guys have passports, you guys going to have that same stigma attached to your name as well. So
what it is it's a misfire. It's a misfire, like, because a lot of those women can't, like, soon as they, like, you know, they get some bait, they hold on to that bait and they can't think outside of that shit.
Exactly.
They can't. And then the thing about it is, you got a bunch of simp Avengers, or like a bunch of simp like, you know, running behind them, and they can't even think outside of that box either. You feel me?
Right. Because
you know,
and
the thing about it is, they start pandering because they'll be like, "Oh, you hurt, you can't get any women."
That nonsense.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. It's like, you know, as men, you know, like, and you know, just, I don't want to be graphic, as you know, but you know, it's kind of like, you know, de-policing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's other race, and you can look at how other races move, right? They know their men go over there, go overseas, and do whatever the heck. They don't make 4-hour shows about that, you know, because they allow their men to be men. You know, and it's kind of like this whole argument. Like, I had to tell this one sister, I'm like, okay, so you keep pushing this narrative, like, where is it going? You know, it's not the brothers that are going, you know, or, you know, supposedly just traveling and saying, hey, I'm going to go look for other things. There's two things you got to consider. You know, 2020 gave a lot of corporations a lot of, like, you know, pretty much with the whole COVID thing, it taught a lot of companies that, hey, I don't have to have these people literally like come to an office every day. I can literally save money by just having to work from home. Yeah, and then they were still getting the same production. So what was going on with a lot of people around that time? Well, hell, I can go to the Philippines and like still do my work and still, you know, basically collect a paycheck. So, you know, the internet pretty much just made this world flat to where, yeah, you don't have to just stay in America. If I'm picking up someone, you know, just for example, if a man is picking up someone on Tinder or a dating app, it's the same as like talking to someone like thousands of miles away or overseas. It's the same. It pretty much is becoming the same thing. Travel was becoming cheaper. So, you know, as the world changes, it's like your connection to more people and more options just gets broader. So
Right,
yeah,
women handle disqualification much different than men. Exactly. I want to hear from Chardé, like why, like when it comes to disqualification, why that is so triggering to women. Like men, we just take it on the chin. You know what I'm saying? If I don't make enough money, if I'm not tall enough, and if I don't look good enough to date you, why? Like I'll just take it on the chin. I'll be, hey, you know what? I'll go with someone I qualify for.
Exactly.
Why
well, men also you take it on the chin, and then you go to where people will mess with you. That's
well, it's not even that. Men also make improvements to themselves. So as a man, you realize you have to improve in order to get the type of woman that you're looking for.
Yeah.
You got to qualify. Again, I just said you got to qualify yourself. So if you got to up your game, whether that's in finances, health, fitness, just confidence, the way you dress, the way you move, just in every aspect of your life, you have to improve yourself. And as a matter of fact, you really, as men, you can't stop improving until you pretty much die. That's it. You got to continue to improve out your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. You get to your 60s and 70s, you kind of settled in. That is what it is because you pretty much done all the stuff you're going to do. But my whole point is that you're improving throughout your entire life, and even then, you're still improving with your knowledge. And you're, we just don't have the luxury of just being stagnant. And I'll say one last thing. I know Better You wants to go. Look, so you mentioned sex tourism. Look, you do not have to leave the United States to get sex.
Yeah, that's true.
That shoots that down right
Just go to Miami. Just go to Miami. You get any flavor.
We know women are having sex. We know
there's more tricking that going on.
See evidence of it,
overstay,
and we know that it's happening on a regular basis.
Yeah,
with a bunch of women.
And I'll say this: the whole issue with the passport bros and the way they're perceived, I feel like a conversation I had a couple weeks ago with an older female acquaintance kind of summed it up all to a point. She felt like she wasted her earlier years chasing after certain guys, and then when she got older, she started realizing the guys that she wanted to get, she couldn't get no more. And the issue with these passport bros, for a lot of women who have issues, real talk, a lot of women have slotted these guys as their backup plan. I think Danica Marie calls it this: you the guy on ice. And what's happening is the guy on ice is saying, nah, F that. I'm going to go somewhere where I'm appreciated. I'm wanted. So now, of course, they go shame, insult, guilt, the need to be right. Throw everything they got at you in the kitchen sink to try to get you back in line, because it's a psychological conditioning. It's this modern philosophy that's been sold to our women that's basically said, yeah, go out, squander your best years. It's how you can have somebody like a Lori Harvey be celebrated for getting with the Michael B. Jordan, and then celebrated even harder for leaving him. And that really, to me, I think that sums it all up in a nutshell. It's like, yo, a lot of women are finding that they can't be reckless because guys are saying, like, hey, I got some money, I can work remote, and I can go get the type of woman that I want, and I don't gotta take you treating me any kind of way. It all boils down to a little bit of respect. Like, if guys were getting that respect here at home, passport bros wouldn't even be a thing.
I think there's a worldwide economy in the community. Shay, did you want to talk? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I completely agree, and that connects well with the point that I made about women at the end of the day being upset that now they are going to have to compete, and there is no scenario that exists where they can just get relationships easy. They're going to actually have to put in the work, and that idea being very very challenging and very disturbing to women who have been told otherwise. And I think that's really a beautiful way that you put it, Better You, because yeah, think that's definitely an aspect of it.
Why don't they consider that? I don't know how you wouldn't consider that. I always look at it like this. Look, don't the men have to put in work to actually get the best type of women that they want, or the best / better women? I just try to equalize it from both sides. So if we gotta qualify ourselves and put in all of this work, why come you don't have to do it?
Well, with that, Kevin, I think what you really have, and this is really more so a modern advent, in my opinion, with the internet and internet dating. A lot of women confuse attention for intention.
Yeah,
I know a lot of women.
Cognitive dissonance.
Like they Brad bust down, but they thinking like, oh, I don't hit the come up, you know. And just from a corporate standpoint, like there's a lot of sisters who go for white guys in high positions, and it's like, nah, you his plaything. He going home to Becky at the end of the day. He ain't got no intention of anything with you. You got one or two that really is on that, but for the like 99%, you're playthings. And that attention, I really, really truly believe makes them think like, okay, I'm in the arena, when really you ain't nowhere close.
Yeah.
Doesn't 2 + 2 always equal 4?
Yeah.
Always, my bro.
Yeah. I actually saw something was saying
if you feel like it equals 5, you're delusional, right?
What's that?
If you think 2 + 2 = 5, that would be called delusional, right?
No, it's also bad math, but yeah.
Right. But I mean, if you run your body count up,
run
through, do you think it's going to be an easy transition to not do it anymore? Just like from common sense.
Well, see. Okay, women are trying to explain that away. Men, we understand that. We understand that that's a problem. We don't want that type of woman. But I actually I'm seeing women trying to explain it away, like literally. They're really trying to convince men that that you should be the guy to take the chance on that woman. You should be that guy.
Real quick, guys, likes are low. So I'm gonna need you guys to get the likes up, please. Likes are free. Also, show some love to this show. If you like to, we're gonna go in a quick. Yeah, I see 203 people and only 165 likes. So, y'all hit that like button. Also, if you like what's going on, show support to the show. CASHAPP, VENMO, Chez, CHARDE, also super chats. I'll be sure to acknowledge. Support your favorite content creators, folks. So, okay, sorry, I wanted to just interject because those likes was not looking good.
What evidence in life? I mean, what other evidence that some of these women can prove to where, like, I'll give you an example. If you smoke all your life, eventually you get cancer. Like, or if you eat a lot, you get fat. Where is there an exception in life to where, like, we have evidence if you do something, this is the end result where it's different, like where there's these huge exceptions?
Hey man, again, women are really trying. You have women who are out here that are openly promiscuous, and they're really trying to convince men that it doesn't matter. And shout out to the men, because we're saying no. I tell you, especially young men, I don't want, especially, and I don't want that. Not only do I not want that in my family, but I don't want young men to suffer because of what some woman was doing in the past, and now she can't, be an effective wife. And
so you're a Bible-based person, right? Like you believe in the Bible as far as what it says, right?
Me? I mean, yeah. I'm not super religious. No.
Shay.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the woman's role as it pertains to her husband?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. It says, at least from a Christian perspective, right? It's man is to lay down his wife. Or lay down his life as Christ laid down his life for the church, and then woman is to respect and be basically submissive to her husband.
And they give her her title is like 2 words, right? They help me.
Help me. Yeah, Genesis.
Help me, right? So that's the issue with this community. Instead of it being a hierarchy where the woman is a leader and the woman is a helpmeet, it's a dichotomy. Like it's like women are sitting there waiting for you to make it on your own and then to attach to that and then reap all the benefits. Where it's supposed to be a situation where a man is trying to make his way and the woman is trying to help them. So you have women like I don't like to say a lot of other YouTubers' names, but like Tanya TKO, where she's and the rest of the divestors are claiming that their issue with us is we're conquered and we don't have anything, we haven't built anything, and the only problem is you haven't built anything, which is a lie. They have an issue with us because they're on the opposite side, they're on a dichotomy. So they just hate to see us be right and find happiness without them. And that's their issue with the passport bros. It's nothing to do with morality, because I don't know about now. Before I used to follow a lot of this sex tourism. If you typed in sex tourism, you saw nothing but white men.
Yeah.
And you saw the Geppetto. It was a huge Geppetto situation. I hope you know what that means, right? And there was a whole lot of trafficking. I'm gonna use that word, right? And it's a list. It's all down there. These women never cared about it. Never said it was on the news. You can't say you missed it. It was in the news in Korea. They were impregnating Asian women and leaving and being deadbeat dads, going back to their country. The women never see them again, leaving women with STDs. They never cared about it. Only when their so-called enemy is traveling over there do they start to make these slanderous allegations towards them. So that's the issue. It's a dichotomy. They don't want to be the helpmeet, and I think it's because they saw part of it is they saw their mother in charge the whole time, and they're mimicking that, where they just use the boy as a tool, or in this case, the man as the tool, and that's all she can really see them at. You know what I mean? So that's what we're missing. Women have to take that role, and I don't think they want to take that role with black men. It might just be where they can take it with white men, and everything else is, black men are a tool, even in these African countries.
But could it be a lot of them have taken on? I mean, I'm not a pro-black Hotep dude, whatever. I mean, I just like. I read a book called The ISIS Papers, with Dr. Cress Welsing, and could it be that black women see black men as a genetic threat around the world, and that's why the hysteria has came? Because it doesn't make no damn sense. They have no plausible evidence that what we're doing is not what everybody else is doing. It doesn't. The math ain't mathing. It's like if there's a class of everybody else that's doing the same thing that we're doing, but you are holding our feet to the fire way more than it. I mean, there's such an imbalance. There's got to be.
But remember, there's an argument in the midst of this that one of us is going to end up alone with cats at the end. So they don't want that to be them. So they'll travel all around and try to find men and travel to Europe and find men. But they're hoping that they can get all black women in America to divest, and you can't travel, because that wasn't an option at first. They was hoping they could get all black women to divest from black men, leave them alone. Then passport bros came out of nowhere. So now they're like, now we have another problem, because even if we divest, they can go find women in other countries. So even
if they were 50% more successful, it would still be in a small number. Right now, collectively, only 5% of other races even fuck with them. I mean, shout out to you, Chardé. I don't want to, I don't want to be on the panel, dissing black women and shit like that. But if you look at the raw numbers, even if they went full go, there's going to be a small percentage of other tribes or whatever that even go that way. I mean, even if they had a mass success in what they're talking about, 100% return is still really low. I don't know where they get this from. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm telling you this. There's a large movement of black women who rather die alone than get with the black man. Is a growing, because we've seen it. We've
think-
seen our
Yeah.
mothers.
Yeah, I agree
We've
with
seen our
that.
mothers. So they're
thing-
ready for that.
The thing that I think both you guys are kind of hitting on, to me, black people have an internalized racism
Yeah.
that causes us to view each other as less than.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And when you talk about it in the context of dating, you're going to get some folks on some divestiture type stuff just simply because they ain't going to see the value in a black man. That's how come you can have a guy who is legit executive making $200,000-$300,000. They'll find any way to knock him, but they'll take old trailer park Brad, who got his beer gut hanging over, who make $25K, and they'll prop him up like he the goddamn king of Siam.
Yeah, that's
just like that dude. That dude they just showed. He looked like Bruce Banner, the one that X'd out the OnlyFans model. Man looked like a younger version of the man from Up, and she still was with him.
It was a sad movie.
No, it was a sad. But I'm just saying, like, they don't date the best looking dudes. You know what I'm saying? When they date out, a lot of times.
Yeah, but it's to justify the ideology though, because like I said, I've been in corporate America for almost 10 years. I done seen and heard a whole lot of stuff, and I can tell you this: like a lot of white guys, yeah, they'll play around with a black chick. They'll play around with a lot of different chicks.
A lot of different chicks.
They're not going home to you though. 99% of them, they're not going home to you.
No,
and that's the thing with it.
Yeah, because I'm saying because they always will point and listen. I have friends that I know personally who are in interracial relationships, and so people can always say because they could do it or because they had an auntie or a great cousin. We're not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's like again, this is where I anytime you start talking to. You hit the nail on the head, the black community, but I think too, black women about race. It's like really the only time I hear them being black supremacist is when black men want to date or marry out or when they're mad that they get rejected. But it's like they don't really want to talk about the realities of even if you want to pretend that we live in a post-racist society. Meanwhile, you got schools going on right now in Ohio where they're raising up a generation of Nazis. This has been documented. I've seen it in different news reports. But you want to believe we're in a post-racist society. This is what folks is doing in white America while black people over here infighting. They are preparing people, their generation, they're preparing their people to be the leaders for the future. And it's like this is going on. They're raising a generation of a white identity only politics, making sure that they don't engage with other races. And you're thinking about to just go into these communities and divest and you're not going to experience any pushback. Like, what are we even talking about? So it's like the level of sometimes I think there's just not an ability to engage in these conversations realistically. Yes, there are men of other races who will date and marry black women, but we have a horrible reputation. And if black men, by and large, like our business is out on Front Street, this reputation out there precedes us. You can't act like, you're just not going to have to deal with that when you're dating. You know what I mean?
I think even amongst the relationships that are interracial, I still think the black person is the tool in the relationship. Even if you're married, you're the tool. And the reason I think that is because black men always have a responsibility when they're married to a black woman or not married to a black woman. It's always to protect and provide, right? I don't think white men are even held to that standard. I've seen so many divestors, so many swirlers that are still talking about why aren't black men protecting black women? Like you're dating and married to a white man. You still don't hold him to that standard. Serena Williams, the man she married, before she married him, that man watched her get robbed and chased the robber down on the street, not even helping her. He stayed in the restaurant eating while she was chasing a robber. Could have been shot, could have been X'd out, and she still married that man because she doesn't have them standards for him, and he doesn't have that responsibility for her, right? I think they're still tools. You know what I'm saying? Some people just follow their sex drive into marriage or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying?
I'll say this because I know a few people that's in interracial relationships, and I actually know one chick who was a divestor. Ironically, she found a dude and she's a single mother now. But the people that I know that are in interracial relationships, the one is 5 of them total. Like I said, including that investor. The other 4, it was pretty much like, hey, I just happened to meet this person. They weren't necessarily what I was looking for or expecting in a sense, but we went out on a date and it just kind of happened. Like, I know it's a black-white couple, it's a Latin-black couple, and it's like a Asian Latin couple, and then it was the black chick with the white guy for a bit. So I think there's a big difference between people being open to a relationship happen with somebody that doesn't fit their expected mold and somebody swirling and divesting with an objective aim to, I don't like my own people or the, and I'm going to go out and capture this person of a different race. I think those 2 different things.
Big difference. I agree.
I think the biggest issue is I don't think people today understand what the definition of love is. It's not about affection. You could have affection for anybody, but the difference is black men and women have a certain love for each other, or usually, or used to, where they understood that as the man, I protect these women, I provide for these women, or I try to, and the woman is the supporter to push her man up. These relationships don't work like that. They're not. Listen, with all the interracial relationships in the country and all that's going on, black people should have been out of an oppressive situation by now, right? If we're all friends, post-racial, love, hold hands across America,
right?
These women should have supported these men to a point where they're over oppression, and these men should have it be in a situation where black women aren't in danger as much as they are, like their woman is in their community. But instead, the black communities are trash, and the man is still oppressed. We got to understand there's a difference between love and affection. You can have affection to anybody. Affection brings forth children. Affection brings forth marriage, right? But you're still a tool. We have to understand what love is. Love is a responsibility.
I know, but I mean, if you're a crackhead that's chasing that first high, which you have a lot of these women that are chasing that first high, that first love, and they can't get over that first love, but they just keep, thinking, hey, you know what? On to the next. And then, and you have a whole bunch of girls like cheering them on. Oh, girl, blah, blah, blah. You're a queen, blah. The whole sisterhood bullshit that they teach them. And, 10 years in, they've ran this same trick for, 3 or 4 times a year. And by the time they're 40, they're like 40 dudes in. Like, how the hell you retrain that? You can't teach a old dog new tricks. It's over. But you have the internet, you have social media, you have a whole bunch of thirsty dudes telling them they can't. And that's why they continue with this delusion. They can go to Jamaica, they can go to Thailand, I mean, not Thailand, but Jamaica or the Gambia or whatever, and relive that shit. And so they come back thinking, you know what, this is what I deserve. And there's no way of talking them out of that delusion. It's no way. You can't do it.
I don't want to have it in a situation where we feel like women can't come back from a past lifestyle like that, or, a phase, whatever they want to call it, the H phase. I think
they have a hard time doing it, though. You got to admit that they have a hard time doing it, especially if you got other women cheering them on and saying like, "Yes, girl, yeah, girl, blah blah blah," all that type of shit. I mean, they're easily influenced that way. They have a hard time letting that shit go.
That's it. Because a lot of a lot of vitriol that. I'm sorry.
Honestly, if we can try to just minimize the cussing a bit, because I know you can get demonetized. YouTube has a thing now, if you can get demonetized if you have excessive. So just if you can, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm starting to write down.
I will. I'm sorry.
I'm starting to write down this YouTube vocabulary for these lives. I'm telling you. But I think a lot of the vitriol that comes from women is they feel like they have nothing to lose because men just say, "Oh, you went through the age phase, you can never be a wife," and none of that stuff. You don't want to leave women in a situation where they feel like they have nothing to lose and they can just throw black men out with the baby out with the water out. I don't know that phrase, but throw the
Baby out
baby out.
with the bathwater. Baby out with the bath.
You know, we don't want to do that. People who have nothing to lose cause some of the biggest problems. I think a lot of these issues, a lot of these conversations come from women that are past the wall and women that are overweight and a lot of men who are, you know, losers and all that stuff like that. You know what I mean? So we don't want to leave people in that situation. But the village, you know, it says a village to raise a child. This atmosphere is toxic to women becoming proper wives because it's too much negativity and dysfunction being supported by this community or by this society.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback up off of what brother, I think it's Triple Black. Is that right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. The piggyback a little bit off of what you just said a second ago. I don't necessarily think it's cognitive dissonance as much as I think it is bitterness from some of the conversations I've had. I think, at least from what I've been able to gather with my small sample size, is not that cognitive dissonance. It's that you have some who, especially this more so towards like with older women, like 40 plus, there's a bitterness that sets in because the guys that they can get to deal with them and entertain them and put up with the attitude and the BS and everything, they feel like they better than them. And because they're better than them, they look down on them. But at the same time, they resent those very same guys because they're not the guys that they want.
Well, that's their issue, though, isn't it? I mean, that all they have to do
it's
is
very much a personal problem.
But
I'm saying that's where the language and the rhetoric comes
I mean, but that's such a conundrum because they don't want the dudes that treat them good because that's like, you know, they've been done, you know, they've been engaged or whatever and all this type of shit. That's a conundrum. So what the fuck do they? Ooh, I'm sorry. Oh God. I mean, what?
You gotta write these words down, man. He's replacement.
Wow. I mean, what would they like then?
Well, so the thing is, like, basically, you accept them just however they show up, whatever they got, issues, problems, doesn't matter.
Pretty much.
Kids, promiscuity, doesn't matter. You just accept them as is, and that's and you know, and shout out to men for saying no. Shout out to black men for saying no, pretty much to everything. No to being stepdads, no to being the backup dude, no to, you know, just sitting here taking nonsense from people who I mean, I don't really know how you can insult somebody and run around here calling them, you know, dusty and losers and expect them to ingratiate yourselves to them. I don't know how you can do that. I wouldn't run around insulting women and expect them to, you know, have any interest. I mean, I'm married, so, but my whole thing is if I was, you know, if I were actually in the market for a woman, I wouldn't, or women, or a specific type of women, I wouldn't be running around insulting them and just saying they ain't worth a damn. It's too much of that going around. Not only that, one of the issues that women are having is so when men do it, I've actually heard men call other men out. Actually, there was a dude trying to insult women today on a panel that I was on earlier. I'm like, no, you don't need to be doing that. Just stick to the talking points. Right. You know, when you start going to that, I don't even like when men do it, especially in front of me. I'm like, just stay on the talking point.
Exactly.
I mean, but the thing about it is, how do you recalibrate? Like, for instance, like a lot of women want us to recalibrate our thought process. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. If I don't like cheese, right, I feel like cheese is disgusting. Like when I see cheese, I'm like, oh God, this is disgusting, right? A lot of women have a lot of men have the natural disposition when they think about promiscuous women, they get that same disgusting feeling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why can't women accept that?
Well, so here's the deal. It doesn't matter what they accept. Look, at the end of the day, women are asking you to take care of them and for a lifetime, right? Invest in them, take care of them, take care of their kids, provide, protect, problem solve, be very productive, be a leader. All that stuff they're asking you to do, you get what the hell you want, man. You put the requirements, demands, and the conditions. Well, not the demands. I just say requirements. So whatever your standards, requirements, and conditions are, she either accepts them or she don't. She either meets them or she doesn't. And if she doesn't like it, well, then she's just left out. That's how you fix this. Because this thing about trying to be concerned about what women thinking, we're the men. We got to take care of them. We got to take care of kids. I hear all the time, men are the leaders. Men are the leaders, which that's a nonsense statement. Because if you tell me that men are the leaders, I'm like, fine, okay, well, let me talk to your husband then. I want to talk to your leader. I want to talk to you.
Right.
Say to you and your husband.
But do you think that? I mean, the thing about it is, we have a natural disposition. Do you think that? I mean, I'm gonna ask the whole panel. Do you think that, this like promiscuous culture that they're selling, is that a natural disposition for most women, or is it just like, are they just being defiant?
No, it is.
Yeah, it is natural. Like all of that stuff is natural, and I hate to bring it to this level because when you leave a child alone, he's gonna do some of the most dysfunctional things that you can think of. Try to put a fork in an electric socket, all that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's about the teaching, right? It's about the education. It's about the environment that breaks that natural dysfunction that we have with each other. We're not animals. Like, we don't just be born and we know how to hunt, walk, run, all that stuff like that. We have to be taught everything. So it is natural. And if no one's teaching women anything, which it seems like today, then they're gonna be what they are today.
And not only that, you have women actually teaching their daughters how to behave in a certain way. I mean, so I know you guys saw the Erykah Badu photo where she's got herself and her daughter standing there with their behinds out. I mean, they're both cute, but I mean, ain't nobody thinking about trying to wipe them up though. Dudes just trying to get at them and move on.
I think one of the issues is nobody wants to date their match. Like, and I ain't trying to be disrespectful when I say this, but what social media has done is everybody's aspiring for this amazing person when you're not at that level. Like, if people were to date their match, like people with kids date people with kids, people who are less attractive date people who are less attractive, people who are attractive date people who are attractive, people with money date people with money, it wouldn't be such an issue. It's just that everybody's looking for that top person, so they're just like, I forgot what it's called, but it's just like you're just dissatisfied with anything but the top at this point. You know what I'm saying? Particularly with women, but
I gotta say, you might be able to say that with women, but Kevin Samuels used to have a saying. He said, men have a range, women have a type. And we do. Men have a range. And it's not just me saying this, by the way. The data, when you look at these dating sites, it actually parses it out and supports that. Men will have a tendency to swipe whatever, I don't know what it is, left or right, on more women than women actually do for the men. Women will limit it and be very specific. Men will be like, okay, out of 10 women, 5 or 6 are good. I can work with that. Women are like, no, I just want these top 2 right here. I just want these 2 guys right here. Everybody else is out.
But one thing I hate is when dudes that are promiscuous think that a woman that is promiscuous as well is below him. I get it,
so
but don't see
we
it.
can equalize that though. Look, men and women are not the same, and
exactly
even the guy who's promiscuous, and I'm not supporting that, but what I'm saying is that the men. So this is kind of the misnomer with that. You got guys that we call them select men, right? Meaning that if that dude walks into a room, everyone wants to be with him in some kind of way, whether it's sexually or just around him, or even take photos or something like that. There are men who are like that. So he's got something that they want. So that dude has more choices, more options, more. So he's still giving women something that they want. So he still has to earn it somehow, even if it's just off of his looks alone. If a man is out here being promiscuous, or he's got to put in a whole lot of work just to get it. You know why women really nobody respects women who are promiscuous? This is too easy for them. A woman can literally go through her phone. Any men that she knows that are, the beta male orbiters that are running around doing favors for her all day, she can just go, hey, you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any of you guys want to come over and be here in 30 minutes and we can have sex? That's how easy it is for women.
Yeah.
Men don't have that. There's very few, and the ones who do are very few and select. That's just how it works.
Right. I'm talking about.
That's women trying to do.
Speak for yourself. We're in 2023. Speak for yourself.
You got it like that? Okay, well, that's what I said. You're a select.
No, I'm just saying. No, it's not even.
Right.
Let's speak for yourself.
I mean, I don't know how it works. I don't know what people are doing.
Well, I do real quick. I do. I did see a few super chats.
But don't you think? While we're on this, isn't it easier for women to get sex than men? Let's do that.
No, 100%.
Let's share read some.
There you go.
But I mean, but I'm a little bit older though, so I already know the game. You already have, a pipeline. You already know how to get that pipeline to act accordingly. I mean, I mean, for younger men, I mean, it took me a while to kind of understand this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to ARC. Y'all, hey, for the young dudes in the game, man, y'all read Mode 1, man, and that will tell you a lot. Tell you a lot.
Let's read some super chats. Shay's gonna read some super chats. Let it read.
Yeah, so I didn't want to read some super chats, and then guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up because I gotta get started on dinner. The chicken's done marinating. So, okay. So let's see. Where'd you guys go? Oops. Shout out to you, IBM Maverick with the 2. It says I'm not settling for a 3 or 4 period. I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. Shout out to you, Roy Boy. We got a new member. This is exciting. I do have a members only live coming up next week, so stay tuned. Shout out to both you guys. Again, IBM Maverick with the 2. It says it's only a problem when we do it. I couldn't agree more. A lot of the stuff to me is just blatant hypocrisy. Says Emerald Edge 72. Likes up, folks. Great content right here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Timothy Bit with the 5. Appreciate you. And then I think Kevin C. You wrote that earlier in the day. Thank you guys for the support. So I do need to wrap this thing up. And get.
Can I ask one question before you wrap it up?
Question, and then you guys can respond along with your closing words. Let's try to two for the
Okay, Kevin C. What is that currency right there? Handlets? What is that?
What do you mean? Oh no, the H&L. That's Honduran lira. That's a unit of currency in Honduras. That's where I am right now.
All right. That was bothering me. Thank you.
Okay, so you guys have any final words or things before we wrap this thing up?
No, I would just say that these young. My only concern with these passport guys that are out here and they're young and they don't have the life experience is them getting in trouble, ending up in a foreign prison, or ending up losing their lives. Outside of that, as long as they're following the laws and doing all the right things, and whatever happens between consenting adults, nobody should have any issue with it. And what women can do if they're concerned is just make the necessary improvements to keep those guys in and around the area. That's really, I mean, you should, no man should have to leave his city. I would say you really should have to leave your city to find a wife, much less have to go across the country, much less have to go outside of the country or go to another race.
Yeah.
Just do more to actually keep the guys you have, closer to you. I mean, Black people have shared culture, history, experience, all of that stuff. So I don't know how you can lose them. You already got all of that. Those are the 4 or 5 things you already have in common. Just qualify yourself as a wife to a good, solid man who's very productive and who's gonna, take care of you and any kids that you produce when you're married. That's I don't know any other way around that. But hey, thanks for letting me up. We appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for coming up.
No, I appreciate the conversation too, man. I want to the young guys that are listening to. I know you got a lot of fans and stuff like that, man. I mean, appreciate what you do. Hey, you one of the good ones, so we got to protect you. But anyways, the thing about it is it's called projection. In a lot of guys, if you've been, I had to learn this shit the hard way. When somebody starts projecting a lot of stuff onto you, it's usually what they're doing. You feel me? So you have a lot of these women that are projecting this stuff on the passport bros. Usually they're doing the same thing. Like if a person keeps accusing you of cheating, guess what they're doing?
Yep, facts.
Cheating. So I'll leave it on that, man. But peace out to everybody that's on the panel, man. Appreciate that. Hey, it was a good panel, man. You guys have a good night.
Okay, take care. Thanks. What you got? Is it? It's always Jermaine's fault. That one.
No, you got chicken marinated. I'm gonna let you go do your chicken.
Appreciate it.
That's it.
All right, you have a good one. What you got, better you?
I'm just gonna say, like, in regards to the whole dynamic, respect goes a long way. And if you expect respect, you should always be the first to show it. In terms of men and getting a man of any caliber, a man can't exist. A healthy, functioning man can't exist in a place where he has no respect. Respect for a man is like air.
Yep.
And when you cut that off, he can't be there. He's forced to leave. So to any women that may be listening, I would highly encourage them to keep that in mind. But other than that, hope you get to it and have a great dinner with your husband. Have a good one, Miss Shay.
Oh, you too. All right. Okay, guys. So this is fun. Catch the replay if you missed it. Also, as I mentioned, I did a live earlier today where I went over the first section of the video, breaking all this stuff down. So if you missed it, no worries. Catch the replay. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button on the way out. Share it with somebody, and stay tuned for other upcoming content and topics. And we'll talk later. Okay. Bye.